As a canine behaviourist, I've had the privilege and honour to be able to help literally tens of thousands of dog owners go from poorly behaved dog to dream canine companion. But what this also means is I have seen the mistakes that literally thousands and thousands of people make that show themselves in these bad behaviours. So in today's video, I want to break down some of the most common mistakes that I see owners make so that you can avoid making those mistakes, so that you don't have to struggle with those same problem behaviours yourself. The first mistake is only ever rewarding our dogs and never challenging their bad behaviours or bad decisions. This is a simple truth. If you want to have a perfect canine companion, you have to be able to have the ability to teach our dogs what it is that we do want from them, but equally as importantly, what it is that we don't want from them. So yes, reward-based methods are incredibly important, and I use them more than any other method in the dog training sphere. But if you only ever do that, you don't have the ability to communicate to our dogs when they do make a bad decision. And there are certain behaviors that you cannot reward your way out of. You have to be able to communicate that they're making a mistake, then redirect them to the decision that you do want them to make, and then praise and reward that better decision. Do that, and there is very, very rarely a problem that can't be solved before it becomes anything serious. So that's mistake number one. But it does lead us quite nicely onto mistake number two. Many people do resonate with what I've just said. They understand the importance of it. However, they don't have an effective way to challenge their dog's behaviors. Maybe they are saying no, maybe they are trying to stop them, but the dog just doesn't listen. They just continue doing whatever it is that they wanted to do in the first place, and usually that is a bad decision. They're doing something wrong, and we're trying to communicate to them that that's not appropriate, but it isn't working. So to remedy that, you must have an empowered challenge. I really like empowering a verbal challenge, and I usually do this by utilizing Pavlovian pairing or classical conditioning to a verbal challenge. And I usually do this while using a variety of different leash-based approaches to challenging behaviors and pairing them to a verbal challenge, so that when the dog hears the verbal challenge in the future, I don't need these leash pressure approaches of challenging behaviors. And it creates what I call an empowered verbal challenge, so that when I say no or enough to my dogs, which are my verbal challenges, they know that they must stop. They must look up to me for guidance and direction and wait for me to tell them what it is that I do want from them instead. The third mistake is not focusing on our dog's manners. When we bring a dog or a puppy into our home, often we're excited to start training, and most people think about obedience, and they think about maybe all the fun tricks that we're going to train our dogs. And the reality is, especially in a low distraction environment in your home, when there's food around and there's nothing else distracting our dogs, it's very, very easy to teach obedience tricks. It's very easy to get them to do fun things. However, when we take that out into the real world, all of that goes out the window, and you are left with the problem dogs that are absolutely everywhere, that cannot walk nicely, that cannot see another dog without absolutely exploding. So for me, it is far more important to focus on having a dog that is well-mannered, and by well-mannered, I mean calm, quiet, keeps all four on the floor, isn't jumping up everywhere, isn't biting and mouthing on everything that see, has good toilet training basic principles, looks up to you for guidance and direction in any given situation. Get those things right, and the obedience bit is easy, especially when we're talking about pet dog obedience. Just having a dog walk nicely by your side, having them sit and stay when you ask them to, having them down and stay when you ask them to, having them come back to you when you want them to. Those bits are easy once you've got a dog that is well mannered. The fourth mistake is not focusing on impulse control. Again, this ties nicely in from the last point that we just talked about. You want your dog to be able to control their impulses. Now, those impulses might be a variety of things, and they're informed by a variety of things. A lot of it comes down to your dog's breed. Take my Labrador Uncle Sully, for example. If he sees a tennis ball off in the distance, or some kids playing with a football off in the distance, his impulse is to go and chase that ball and bring it back. It's a thing that he really, really wants to do. And he has to control that impulse to stay focused on me and I can remain in control of him. That means we can go out and explore the world. Again, we can have these pieces of obedience, we can even have these pieces of manners, but if they can't focus on those things when their ancestral desires, those ancestral impulses rise within them, it all goes out the window and it doesn't work in the real world. So I highly encourage you to build impulse control. The next mistake is an incredibly common one, and it is one that I spend a lot of my time when working with clients having to break through somewhat gently. And that is that there is a commonality of people that want to blame the dog's behavior on the dog themselves, that something has happened with the dog, that it was the dog's breeding, it's the dog's genetics, which, don't get me wrong, every now and again is the case. But the vast majority of the time, the dog isn't the problem, the owner is. But in my opinion, that is absolutely amazing, because if you as the owner right now are the problem, the amazing, beautiful, wonderful piece of that equation is it means that you're also the solution. If it was all just the dog's fault or the dog's genetics or the dog's breeding, then there is no positive route forward. However, when we embrace that we need to be better, that we need to improve, and that our dogs will improve because of it, it means that the control comes back to us. And when we can control the outcome, we can control the success that we're inevitably able to achieve with our dogs. And that is one of the reasons I've been able to have so much success with the clients and dogs that I work with. It's very rarely me fixing the dog, it's me helping the owner become a higher level canine leader so that they can more effectively communicate to their dogs exactly what it is that they do want and what it is that they don't want, using all of these things we've just discussed, building impulse control, focusing on manners, being able to challenge those behaviors effectively, reward the other behaviors efficiently. Bing bang bosh, we have a dream canine companion.